This video is brought to you by valiant efforts of Bercouli reaching the end of eternity. Reinforcements arriving, plans to wake Kirito up shaping up nicely, and a massive duel taking place to decide Alice's fate. We had an incredible episode this week, with the second half naturally deserving a whole lot more praise. Welcome everyone, it's me Gamerturk, your best source of Art Online information, and this is Alicization Explained featuring War of Underworld episode 14, The End of Eternity. Short overview, we have adapted from volume 17, Alicization Awakening, chapter 20, towards the end of part 4, to a couple of pages into chapter 21, part 2. That is an incredible thing for an adaptation pacing, less than 40 pages, which did show in the episode too. We got quite the high adaptation rate. However, the scenes were shuffled around a bit, more than just a bit, to ensure Bercouli had the ending to himself, which is understandable given the episode. First off, also had some weird pacing issues between the two scenes it had, but the second half with Bercouli took it to 11 and absolutely carried the entire episode like a champ. Overall, very solid episode, if not perfect, no major cuts, barely any minor cuts at all. But if you're new to my Explained series, what I do here is essentially provide you all the vital information on characters, events, action, lore from the source material light novels, things that the anime did not convey properly or just did not have the time to, which we don't have much this week, so you can still see the full picture. If you want to jump to specific events, timestamps will be in the description, along with Amazon and Book Depository affiliate links, so you can grab the light novels for yourselves. With that, let's cast away the sly foxes spreading misinformation and get on with Alicization Explained. But yeah, if I'm being honest, thank God this episode was so accurate. That means I don't need to speak for too long and actually pack my bags to go fly back to Turkey tomorrow without any stress. Otherwise, I would probably have to delay this video to Monday. Anyways, before we begin with the contents, let me provide the structure of the scenes in the novel since things were shuffled around a bit to give Bercouli the ending. Nothing wrong here at all, just a small bit of information, you know. All of these scenes are roughly taking place at the same time anyways, so the shuffle technically has zero effect on the grand scheme of things, but the Bercouli scene takes place before all the other content in the episode, so during and very shortly after the descent of Halo players, it's very likely the duel is very much over on the other side by the time we reach the opening sequence already, as the talking bits with Liz and Silica explicitly happen after Bercouli's death. With that minor information out of the way, let's get on with the actual contents, and for the ease of editing, I will be following the chronology anime portrayed. I really don't have much time today. So, with the ordinal scale final boss kill music playing in the back as everyone starts appearing in Underworld, let's start with a liberty the anime has taken. The fact that everyone is appearing in their usual Halo avatars as if they completely exist that way here, it's just not very accurate at all. This is probably done so they don't need to have minor design tweaks and just use the designs they already had here, but as the conversion feature of the Seed Nexus is used, the outlooks of the characters and the items they have are converted into something fitting for the setting too. That is just a fancy way of saying Silica shouldn't have cat ears, nobody else should have their elven ears. I mean, they did change the weapons of GGO players into crossbows, so I guess the fluffy and pointy ears are more marketable than guns? Who knows? The scene goes by a little too fast without us seeing much combat aside from short cuts here and there, but the anime is not to be blamed here. They could add more fight scenes for funsies, but at this point I'm convinced they are not gonna bother putting additional effort just for funsies, animating stuff that they don't have to. Would have preferred trimming the real life bits slightly to give all these amazing characters some more screen time. Speaking of them, there are a whole bunch of them here, so here we go. Obviously, Klein starting the wave, Agil followed by Lisbeth and Silica, but we don't end there. We got the Salamanders and their leader Eugene, Sylphs and their leader Sakuya, Katesids and their leader Alicia Rue, some randoms and Nochizawa Eiji aka Nautilus, sorry that Cordial Chords video is still not ready. Yuna is currently nowhere to be seen, as expected if we consider her to be a regular AI, though that can change. Behind Sakuya, while she is giving orders, we got Yamikaze, Dain, Musketeer X, and Behemoth, the big guy Shinon took out during her introduction episode. It may look a bit funny that they are talking here while a war is happening right in front of them, but first off, Asuna is technically a commander here, same as Renly, who have already given their orders to the troops, and the human troops are either taking their orders from their individual race leaders or simply going solo or with their own group with the usual VRMMO approach of hit it till it dies mentality that I'm using while playing Alicization Licorice. So Asuna and Renly were able to afford a small chat to get their bearings and understand the circumstances here, and more importantly, well, Silica and Lisbeth are not at all suited for the war transpiring in front of them. You'll see more of that in the future too. Doing kinda lightning rounds here with the scenes, with the minor things, but Asuna healing is obviously incarnation. Remember the sentiment, my body won't give in until my mind does. It's basically that. Having all this help from her longtime friends as well as Yui outside, her mind was full with determination again, allowing her to use incarnation to heal the measly wounds that the anime portrayed, along with her completely chopped off arm and multiple spear wounds on her chest and abdomen that the anime just completely ignored and skipped. Renly meeting with Liz and Silica, I love Liz's antics here, so cheerful, always puts a smile on my face. Well, the anime did show it to a certain extent. It was a very minor thing in this scene, but Asuna seeing Renly meet with Liz and Silica, the two sides, Underworlders and the Real Worlders bonding, was something that gave her warm feelings. Since it's a core concept of Alicization that you should keep an eye on, I figured I would highlight this bit as well. When Asuna joins the war again, we see even more people. Frenica, the student that was abused by Humbert Zizek back at the Swordcraft Academy, is participating as a healer, healing a fellow Alo player named Takashi, which... yeah, their scene seems to have been dropped. Poor Frenica, forever to wait for the knight from a faraway land to return, praying to Stacia that he will one day return to fulfill his promise of meeting again, not giving her heart to anyone else. But more notable mentions that were in fact much less the focus at this portion of the story, at least, the entirety of the remaining sleeping knights with a beautiful set piece of their own. And we will see more of them too in their actual scene later down the line. Before we switch to the ocean turtle scenes, the big advantage Japanese players have is that while they are severely outnumbered, they did actually convert their high level accounts, whereas the Americans did not use any conversion to get in, they were just dumped in with the default accounts, hence their low stats. So if they remain organized, the Japanese players are in a position where they can easily come out on top, as long as the battle conditions remain the same. Oh, was that too much of an obvious tease? Moving on to the Higa scene. God damn, I already tweeted about this. Despite being an exposition heavy scene, it is a damn one-to-one adaptation. You can turn off the subs, open the book, and move on to the next dialogue every time speed changes from one person to the other, and you'll successfully reach the end without the usage of subs. They literally left me with nothing to explain here, so that is good for them, terrible for me. What would I do if the entire adaptation was so solid? Still, there are small things here and there. They glossed over a minor subplot tease, but I'll keep it for the light novel readers for now. I'm pretty sure they will cover that in a more suitable scene later down the line, so I don't want to barge in to spoil you out of its existence. As for Yanai, you have seen him multiple times before. If I recall correctly, 3 times already in Alicization Anime and once back in Season 1, although it is definitely impossible for you to know it was him back in Season 1, so don't even try, you'll get to know soon enough. And that leads us into the Bercouli vs Emperor Vecta. Fucking hell, what an incredible scene overall. With that incredible art style, with that incredible animation, visual cues for you to follow what Bercouli is doing, this is the best adaptation and the best animation I have watched so far, maybe even the entire Sword Art Online series. I don't even know what to say to praise this incredible thing further. Despite all the shit A1 pulls every now and then, this is the kind of stuff that makes me grateful it is A1 adapting SAO anime. Minor explanations, of course, to conceptualize certain things. As I mentioned last week, the ghost vision is only there for you as the viewer. Bercouli does not see these visuals, he's literally guessing from his memory where exactly they were 600 seconds ago. And of course, it is borderline impossible to do so during a fast-paced battle, but being so experienced has its benefits, you see. Bercouli was pretty much going around the battlefield drenched in his own blood, following his and the Emperor's distinct footprints, looking for the one footprint from Vecta that had the driest blood around it the moment when he cut off his arm, almost 10 minutes ago. He needed to find a spot within these 600 seconds because that was how far into the past the memory release art of his time-piercing sword could affect. Bercouli didn't know that the reason was because the main visualizer of Underworld only logged the location data of its residence for 600 seconds, but that didn't matter. He had 30 seconds left, and following the footprints backwards while acting like a deluded drunk person, he had managed to find the exact spot. That was the one spot he was certain of where Emperor Vecta had definitely been in the past 600 seconds with a clear footprint, unlike the rest of the muddled battlefield. But just when he was about to go for a slash, Vecta realized something was up. He had no idea what it was, he just knew he had to intervene to prevent a plot that he knew Bercouli was scheming, and that was the end of Bercouli's plan. But that brings me back to something I highlighted in last week's Explained. He gave the order to the 3 dragons to retreat back to the war zone, but one of the trio, Hoshigami, his dragon as far as he could remember, was disobeying an order of his for the first time and the final time, just like the time Charlotte had disobeyed Cardinal's order to live peacefully in the library and sacrificed herself to save Kirito and Yujiro. That is such an amazing scene. No music at all when Hoshigami attacks, the animation just feels to have so much weight, and in this time created by Hoshigami, Bercouli simply followed the signs of where Emperor Vecta was 7 seconds after the moment he had cut off his arm, and swung his sword for the last time. Cutting the past was a move Bercouli was not ever fond of. It was a shameless swing that had no honor in it. It could not be blocked, it could not be defended against. That was why he hadn't used it against the flaxen-haired boy at the royal baths, despite being the target of Blue Rose Sword's memory release function, full aware that Prime Senator Chudelkin would label it a betrayal of the Axiom Church. But Emperor Vecta, who had equally inhuman powers, there was no need for hesitation. The final swing cut Emperor Vecta in half 600 seconds ago, causing the current Emperor Vecta to disappear from existence, as he had now died 10 minutes earlier. Alice's wake-up scene is just such a sad moment, with how she saw him as a father figure, and the ending on top of it was just marvelous, with how Bercouli always saw her as a daughter figure, seeing Quinella from his memories and how and why he never resented her, his final thoughts reaching Fanatio asking her to raise their child well. It was all absolutely great. I don't think any explanation is needed, but if you have questions, by all means ask away. But still, I do believe the anime was a perfect adaptation this week. I don't think you should have any questions. We even got to learn Gabriel's GGO password. Just got drinks, just got things, just girl things. I guess he's a doctor at heart. I have no clue how Critter is supposed to read that, man. Either way, do I need to share my opinions after this? An incredible episode all around, perfect adaptation, nothing to say really. But next episode is titled Instigation, so yeah, we'll get to see the ultimate instigator of Aincrad in action to spread the seeds of chaos once again. That is all the next episode tease you're getting this week, short and concise. Weekly Alicization Q&A is returning again, so if you have questions that you feel like were not answered in the explained episodes, do ask them below in the comments section. If your question is regarding the future, please add a spoiler warning and give it a couple of blank lines to push the spoilers away. And no, I will not answer spoiler questions for the sake of spoilers, like when will Kirito wake up? If you're that curious for spoilers, just read the damn books. Amazon and Book Depository links are in the description. But if you made it this far, hit that like button and subscribe button and the bell icon as well while you're at it, and comment "Rest in peace daddy" down below to let me know. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter for the fastest news possible. Lens Squad merch is still around, but now we got Medina, Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh merch too, so do check it out. A huge thanks to all my patrons and channel members as always, and until next time, stay cool.